Yes, people, welcome back to talkSPORT Arsenal, the YouTube channel dedicated to Gooners worldwide. And I'm once again joined by two good friends of mine, Luke Henry and CJ, aka the Deluded Gooner. Boys, we've got a win, away win, huge win at the Amex, away to Brighton, 1-0 win. Bukayo Saka strike on his 300th appearance, captaining the side as well, secures us the 3 points. At the same time, Man City drawing 2-2 with relegation battlers Nottingham Forest. The stars are aligning, boys. I can see the smiles on your faces. I can see the confidence growing. I mean, another huge 3 points, as I just said. It puts us in a strong position, increases our lead at the top to 7 points. City do have that game in hand with Crystal Palace, which hasn't been scheduled yet. But as I said, we're back at the top of the table with a nice lead. How are you boys feeling, Luke? I'll come to you first. How are you feeling this morning? We've been criticised once again by the Brighton manager of not playing football. We're making our own rules up. Seems like everyone's starting to realise that this might be the year for Arsenal.
Oh, football. Football, honestly, boys, what a sport. What a sport. I mean, it was only it feels like 3.5 weeks ago when we were looking down the barrel and going, what on earth has happened at Wolves?
And we didn't want to record. We were
And
looking at each other like, what's going on, boys?
and then you start just, picturing and going through everything and answering the same questions. And then, you come out of the back of 3 wins, Spurs, Chelsea, and Brighton last night. And do you know what the funny thing is? You obviously look at the performance on Sunday just quickly, and there was lots to talk about Arsenal in the second half with the physical drop off, and then you see what Chelsea did yesterday to Aston Villa, which is no mean feat, and that was a very good performance from them. So you realise how competitive and how tough it is to go and pick up 3 points in every single game you play, and every football match is different, and Arsenal are finding ways to win football matches, and the more matches you win, you have a better chance of winning the league. How I'm feeling, I feel absolutely ecstatic. I'm very diplomatic now, but if you would have saw me yesterday when the full-time whistle went at the Amex and at the City Ground, you probably would have heard me before you saw me, because we all want it. We're going to talk about the tactics and we're going to talk about little things on the pitch, but sometimes it's just a raw emotion and speak from the heart. We want this so much. We're so desperate. And what I loved so much yesterday was the fans at full time when they heard the news that City had dropped points, and that connection with telling them that we are with you until the very end. Forget the performances, put them in. But what I love, and I've said it before on here, I've said it before, go and embrace the pressure and show me you want it. And I see a team now that are winning at all costs. They know that beautiful football can only get you somewhere, but determination, grit, desire, putting your bodies on the line where it hurts, that is what champions will do, and that's how you get over the line. Now, there's still 8 games to go, so nothing is won, but we're in a very, very good position. You can start looking at the fixtures, you can start getting away with yourself. However, it's funny now because we've only got one more Premier League game this month. So the other competitions will take centre stage and they will take focus. But look at that Everton game. The kick-off time is very important because we could be 10 points clear before City kick a ball. Now, you can win 6 Premier Leagues in 8 seasons, but if you're going into a game knowing that you have to win a game of football against a rejuvenated West Ham, may I add, every game is tough. Off the back of their win against Fulham, not an easy game. And then, boom, click your fingers, you find yourself, it's the 11th of April. And yes, there is a cup final in there that I think will have ramifications, but it might not. And then 11th of April, we take on Bournemouth. And then 12th of April, they're away to Chelsea. And then, obviously, it's the game that everyone's looking at, the title decider. You just never know. One game at a time, but I love that group of players. I love everything they're about. And finding ways to win is beautiful. So ugly, sometimes it can be absolutely beautiful. And I do not care what anyone has to say about the performance. In fact, respect it.
Yeah,
Watch
no,
it,
Luke,
respect it, learn from it. Simple as that.
I'm with you. I'm very much like, it doesn't matter how we win, because as we said on here previously, I'm sure you boys have said elsewhere as well, we've been praised for years since we've probably been watching football. We're all a similar age. Under Wenger, even Emery at times, people would praise how we played, attacking football, free-flowing football. But essentially, what did it amount to? It didn't always amount to anything. And the last time we were winning the league, we had teams full of gritty players, players that could do the dirty side of the game, as well as the beautiful side. And I think this team's got more of the dirty side than the beautiful side. But ultimately, when you're picking up 3 points on the road at tough places like Brighton, you're beating Chelsea at home, Tottenham away, which isn't the hardest game at the minute, but you're still doing it. That's all you can do is get the points on the board, which we criticise them for not doing. So you have to praise them when they do it. And CJ, I wanted to ask you about the narrative, because for me, it frustrates me. Like, Fabian Hertzler comes out yesterday and he said things like there was only one team trying to play football. He said Arsenal are making their own rules up, and it's just basically a negative style of play. But I saw Ray Parlour and Michael Owen said on a show after that, well, he's never experienced going for a league title, so what does he know about playing to win a league title? And you sort of have to just praise Arteta, don't you, for actually finding a way. He's been here for 6 seasons now. A lot of pressure's been on him. Us three have questioned his position if he doesn't deliver a Premier League, Champions League or more. So how happy are you, CJ, with Arteta's sort of stubbornness to stick with this style of play and not get shaken by the outside noise? And what do you make of comments from managers like Slot, Hertzler criticising the style of play in the Prem at the minute?
I mean, what a surprise, as Mikel Arteta said. You know what? Let's use the Brighton manager as an example. I'm a football purist. I can't necessarily say I like the climate of football. I can't say it's enjoyable. Unfortunately, though, you have to adapt with the times. I think Arsenal, excluding the George Graham era, we've kind of become the monsters we despised, and I effing love it. Pardon my French. I love it, people. If it's not broke, why would you attempt to fix it? This is what football is about. It's about systems. Both teams cancel each other out. You have to capitalize on the fine margins. Everybody will talk about us as set pieces. I don't think Saka obviously scored from a set piece yesterday. In relation to the Brighton manager, again, control the controllables. If anything, it's a testament to you that, we're doing dark arts. We're trying to take this thing out of the game. You lot are doing, and I get it why you're upset. You're doing light shows and crazy stuff. The big bad Arsenal's in town. I understand it. We spoiled the party. That is testament to you and how much we respect you and how much we don't want to kind of make it an open game. Again, I've seen Luke a lot this week, innit? Like, we embraced each other and hugged each other after the game yesterday. Obviously, he was on my platform earlier, yeah. We like it. Why would we, if you can't break down a low block, why would we change it? Why would we make an open game where it's going to help you? Especially where, we've had decisions that benefited us. Again, Raya made a mistake. It was unpunished. There was an opportunity where the Brighton lad struck it into a teammate. If anything, we're giving you your kind of praise. I don't know. He's younger than Mikel Arteta, so maybe he's young and naive, and he needs to stay humble, because at some point, the very person you despise, you might have to become to go and get to the next level. I actually think he's a very good tactician. He's a good manager, but clearly he's got something against us. I know a lot of people do, but he done a lot of talking before the game. He's definitely doing a lot of talking after. What does he want from Arsenal Football Club? We talk a lot about, we want to see more attacking football. We want to see this, we want to see that. And there's been a lot of patterns that we've seen this season in terms of improvements we need to make. Isolated to Brighton, it's a quick turnaround from the Chelsea game. The result is all that we needed, and we got that really. There was a lot of energy out of the tank after the Chelsea game, and you could see that yesterday. The one thing I'll give my boys is there's a willingness to want to defend, which I was reminded of against Brighton away yesterday, but that's been the case all season. David Raya stood up tall, bar his mistake that was unpunished. Gabriel Magalhaes, Hincapié at this moment is in a rich run of form. It's quite annoying, really and truly, to be gaslit. And I would say to the Brighton manager, if the shoe was on the other foot, what would you do? Because you're telling me that there's been no game where you've done the dark arts, your players have milked it. It's a necessary evil. You hate it when it goes against you. And I definitely have seen that go against us. And you absolutely love it when it happens for you. So for me, I don't know what he's complaining about, but he can keep complaining. Football's decided at both ends. Did we score more than you? Yes. Did we concede less than you? Yes. It is what it is. And, Brighton have had a topsy-turvy season. We all know nothing's decided, innit? Like, we don't know for the Prem, for the Champs, for relegation, etc., right? They're 9 points technically off relegation. They've had a topsy-turvy season where they've struggled to go on consistent runs. So I understand the frustration and the bleeding and whatnot. I'm a football purist. Of course, I don't like the way the game is. But what would you want? If it's cold outside, why the hell would you not put a jacket on? You'd be silly, right? And that's where he's looking at it. And that's where I think he's naive and there's that stubbornness. And football will humble him, you know. He's younger than Mikel Arteta. He's in his 30s. His comments was something I expect to see on football Twitter, innit? So it's just sour grapes, innit? He's a sore loser. Every manager should be a sore loser. Hold that, innit? I'd be the same if you thought this way about Arsenal and we dealt with you in the 2 games in the league and we dealt with you with the kids in the League Cup. Keep crying, Seagulls, man. It is what it is.
You know what it is, though, boys? It reminds me, it reminds me of when that first game of the season against Brentford, you know, when we conceded them, I think it was 2 set pieces. Norgard actually scored against us, ironically. And we would get, Carragher was saying things like typical Arsenal. It's no surprise, it's just Arsenal, men versus boys. You can't please them, boys. You can't win. Whatever you do, if you're hard to beat, they criticise you. If you're easy to beat, they criticise you. Like, what more can you do? We're top of the league. It honestly baffles me, boys, that we're getting criticised for winning and getting results. Like, I don't get it, Luke, honestly.
I can tell you exactly what it is. I spoke to CJ earlier in the week about this on his channel, and I might be wrong, but this is how I feel. I feel like, look, no one wants Arsenal to win, but I feel like it's the fear of Arsenal being the team that you have to compare your team to get to the next level. And what I mean by that is, if Arsenal win the league, the everyday rival fan would be like, but look what Arsenal did with Arteta. That's how you're going to have to win a title. You know, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to give the manager time. Arsenal are going to be referenced a lot more, and people don't like that. You can hide behind the fact that Pep Guardiola obviously is a genius and one of the best managers we've seen in the game for a long time. And obviously you look at the financial package he has at Manchester City with the terms of buying all the players. You can hide behind that and go, well, if we could do that, then it would be a little bit easier, but you can't do that. So it's easier for people to stomach Manchester City winning a Premier League. The issue is for Arsenal, and Arsenal as a football club, no one wants to praise Arsenal. No one likes Arsenal, and that's a sign of when you're doing good things. When you're liked, people don't see you as a threat. When you are liked, when you're not liked, people are a little bit jealous of you and they go, oh no, and people are starting to realise that Arsenal are a tough nut to crack. Think about it, 30 games in the Premier League, in the League Cup final, 8 wins from 8 in the Champions League, FA Cup still there. We've only lost 3 games and we're in March the 5th. We've lost 3 games all season. We're very, very tough to break down. But what people do not want to do is go, we're going to have to look at Arsenal, how they did it, and because Arsenal won the league. So the facts are there if they get over the line. That's what people don't want to do. But listen, ignore the noise. What we've got to do together is come together. We've done this before. It's not like we haven't come together as Arsenal fans and had to block out noise and criticism and agendas and whatever. We just come together, keep in our own bubble, support the boys, back them, and we keep going. It's as simple as that. I don't really pay too much attention to the outside noise, really.
I think a lot of these other fans are sort of... they're sort of getting off their chests what they're seeing from their own teams. Is that because their teams are being inconsistent and losing to teams that they shouldn't, or dropping points against teams that they shouldn't? You look at Liverpool against Wolves on Tuesday night. They lost there, we drew there. Still not happy with the point, but Liverpool go there and lose, shows the level of the league. Forest obviously getting a point. Chelsea beating Villa 4-1 away last night. For me, boys, the league is probably as hard to call as it has been in a long time. I think it's hard to pick a winner. Even West Ham getting a win away at Fulham last night. I think the league is actually as close as it's ever been in terms of level. And CJ, I know you're very much, you said you're a football purist, but you analyse the game. And for you, do you think the league is actually a lot more competitive than people are giving the credit for?
I mean, if they're actually using their eyes, 100%, man. You know,
That's what I'm saying, man.
A lot of people say cliches in football and the Premier League, in the sense that anybody can beat anyone, which we're kind of seeing. You know, Arsenal have beaten some big teams and gone and passed some big tests in the Champions League and specifically the Premier League. But where have we struggled? You know, I know well, the table doesn't lie, but you could say Wolves are a better team than where they're at the moment. Our 2 games against Wolves, where obviously we dropped points, obviously squandering a 2-goal lead, and obviously at the Emirates, have been 2 of our harder games. You know, there's no hiding place in the Premier League. Obviously, finances, tying into finances, the players you can obviously buy depending on your budget will kind of have a say in what you do in it. But at the same time, the traditional top 6 struggle against the bottom kind of sides. And you look in the late 90s, early 2000s, ironically, Brighton, Bournemouth, these kind of games, managers probably knew they were going to win. There probably wasn't too much emphasis going into it. Now, these are the games that have the spanners in the works. You go through the Premier League, there's a lot of managers that are very good tacticians, can outsmart you, teams that can beat you on your day, especially when you kind of go from home. And then you look at the Premier League, people say it's boring. I get that there's kind of two arguments in one, in which, you know, the standard of football and the ball being out of play and you know, set piece goals going up, which isn't just Arsenal, by the way. You know, there's been 200 odd goals and whatnot from non-penalty set pieces. It's not just us, but they kind of, you can kind of see where I'm going. You have to earn the right to win a Premier League game, and kind of where you lot are at and what you've been talking about. This is the business end of the season. It's just about getting results. It's never been more competitive. You can say who you think is going to get relegated, who you think is going to get top 4, who you think is going to get a top 10 finish, but you go through the league, nothing is decided. You don't necessarily know at least maybe one of the 3 teams that are going to go down. You don't know who's going to win the league. You don't know for the Champions League, which is a race for inconsistency in its kind of self. Nothing is decided yet. So again, the league's competitive. You have to earn the right to win. You have to get the job done. And at this point in the season, it's just about results. You guys, you know as well as me, I've been very critical on, you know, Mikel Arteta showing me something new in terms of tactics. The players individually, specifically our attackers, going up the gears. But if you're not able to defend and have a willingness to defend in this league, you've got no chance, whether that's mid blocks, low blocks, defending with 10 men, you know, taking the sting out of games like you have to do against a Brighton. They're a very good football inside, you know. You look at their manager, he's got a fantastic ethos. They're a fantastically run club. You know, we're coming into that game, obviously, in a deficit in terms of physically. We're struggling after the Chelsea game. What do you think we're going to do? And I think every Arsenal fan probably didn't expect Saka to score, big him up, and Saka to score in the circumstances. We had to defend for large periods of that game. You know, there was 6 minutes of added on time. So I understand their manager crying and having a bit of a moan, but you had 6 minutes of added on time. You know, we scored in the 9th minute, so there's 81 odd minutes for you to control the controllables. Control the controllables. The ball went through your goalkeeper's legs. Your players couldn't finish. Look at what you're doing, really and truly. And I've actually seen him before, yeah. I can't remember the game, but there was a segment doing the rounds. They asked him, I can't remember the context of the game, but they asked him, what do you think was different for Brighton? He actually said, we scored goals. So that indirectly tells me, tactically, you're a tinkerman and you do great stuff. But the hardest thing to do is put the ball in the back of the net, and you struggle to do that. So maybe there's a bit of spillover frustrations from the Brighton manager. Of course, as I keep saying, yeah, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, if what we did to Brighton happened against us, we would have something to say. But I think I speak for every Arsenal fan, young and old. That's been us. That's been us dominating possession. Teams camped in their own half, you know, taking advantage of a mistake from us. Us not taking advantage of their mistakes. Ultimately, we won the game. That's what happens. When you win, you can paint the narrative. And, you know, a lot of people are doing this pylon thing with Arsenal. If you're Mikel Arteta, do you really want to, obviously you want to be great defensively, but you want to be great defensively, you want to be great in an attacking third. With all the pressure you've got on your own position, because everybody wants to win, with the pressure you've got on yourself, with, you know, the internal and external noise, do you really care what this guy has to say? And I do like Arteta's comments away from what an absolute surprise. He said something like, do you take his criticism on board? And he was like, it depends on the manager. He's indirectly saying, I ain't listening to you. What have you done in the game? I like all of that. Don't get twisted. The Brighton manager is within his rights to feel how he wants to feel. But what I will say is hold that and say all of that without crying. That's all I got to say, man. Let's keep it moving.
Luke, what do you make of all the noise, Luke? Do you think it's sour grapes as well? Do you think the tactics are a problem? Is it sustainable, I'd actually say, because it's one of them where it's like people are criticising it and people are saying it's a shift in the style of play of the league. And CJ, you, like you said at the start, you're not exactly enamoured by the way Premier League football's gone. And I got an interesting stat here, boys. Chances created during set plays this season: Leeds have created 42, United 40, Liverpool, Brentford 37, Villa 34th. So we're actually not even in the top 5 of chances created during set plays. So do you think it's just lazy analysis, Luke? People just getting one in on Arsenal? Like, what is it?
Partly. I mean, isn't this a team that has scored, 97 goals in all competitions this season? And I'm pretty sure only
most touches in the opposition box as well.
2/3 of them are not from set pieces. So
we probably have the most different goal scorers as well. Surely, I'm pretty sure everyone in our team's got.
And
at least
we're up
one
there
goal.
for open play goals.
Yeah. So what do I make of it? I think it's partly lazy, partly can be true. Listen,
Facts.
I do think there is a misconception. I've always said this. when Arsenal play quick, they are a very good team. The ironic thing about talking about last night is that Herzl has been moaning and Brighton are crying and what have you. Trossard has a really good chance. Havertz has a decent chance. But look how we play the build-up. People forget even at Chelsea on Sunday. And I think that's actually the frustration from Arsenal fans a little bit more, is that this team isn't just what people think it is. It's actually a very, very good footballing team, but you have
There's
to
more
look
gears to go up in the final third.
And also, this narrative about set pieces and being lazy analysis. How do you get set pieces? How do you get corners? Because you're attacking. The key, they don't just kick it out for you. You have to get to their box to actually make corners. It sounds stupid to say, but it's simple because you have to attack. It's not like we just sit on the edge of the box and wait for a chance. We are defensively strong. And listen, don't talk to us because
9
we're
times
not
out of 10 the game's played in the opposition's half as well.
But listen to the managers that come out and talk about the game. Listen to the different managers and talk about how Arsenal can play in different aspects of the game and different variations of football. Now, there's obviously the famous saying of attack wins your games and defence wins your titles. Last night was a key example of that. I think I saw a stat this morning that in the 2003-04 season, Arsenal registered 12 1-0 wins. This season, it's 10 1-0 wins. It's famous, but no one remembers that. No one remembers that. But all they will remember as the Invincibles, how good they were, a tough nut to crack. It's the same here. We're a tough nut to crack. And it depends how much you watch football. I mean, there's going to be a massive debate. There always has been a debate of whether the Premier League is boring and whether it's entertaining, but that depends on how you view entertaining football, because
I think City side was boring, so we got no chance. Just put my league in the bag, man.
Well, that's the point, right? And I'm pretty sure this season, there's only been 6 games this season that I've seen a scoreline with a 4-goal margin.
And we've done it twice.
I've done it twice.
But we're boring,
boys.
So how boring is that? So that just shows competitive. You've all touched on it. Relegation's still up for grabs. The title race is still up for grabs. There's a race for Europe. There's even a race for 8th. Could Brentford, could Everton, could Fulham, could Bournemouth, could they sneak into the top 8? And I'm meant to sit here and believe that it's boring.
Yeah.
When Virgil van Dijk came out and said it's the toughest and most competitive league he's faced. One of the best of all time. Some people say the best centre-back of all time to do it. I probably listen to the experts and the professionals sometimes about their opinion. Because, if it's lazy analysis, then I'll listen to what they say. But I don't really care. We all say the same thing. I don't care about the reaction. I don't care about how I make other fans feel in terms of our style of play.
Or validation from them. Do they support Arsenal?
What bothers me is how are we going to win the Premier League. What bothers me is the direction and the journey we are going on at the start of the season and throughout. But I can clearly see that Arteta is finding that it is win at all costs. And let's just see, because I think it'd be very interesting. Not Mansfield, I don't want to give them too much disrespect, but let's look at how we play against Leverkusen. Let's see the style of football. Let's see if the team are going to breathe a little bit, because then I think if we go to Leverkusen and say we get a 2-goal lead and it's no disrespect, and it's not going to be an easy game, but just say we play in a different way and we're more expressive and we have a lot of the ball and we look control. I think a lot of people will go, oh, they can actually play all styles, all avenues, and all types of football. And then you go to Everton at home and you can play on the front foot. And then if you need to sit in for the last 15 minutes, they can do. And we keep it moving, keep it being different. But some of the players, shout out in Capier last night.
Warrior.
What a
incredible player. Gabriel, sensational. Just plays with his heart. Raya.
Yeah.
They're just, and everyone really. I
mean, Declan Rice, I thought was
even
class
Rice,
yesterday.
even Rice. I mean, 90 minutes
when it's time to get it done, Rice just kicks into second gear, man. And even the attackers, man. To be fair, like big up Kai, there was nothing really to waffle about in an attacking sense, and I weren't really impressed with our attackers. But you see, when it was just time to, like, last 20 minutes, just get this thing over the line, that would be a kind of positive for them. And you know what? Yeah, sorry to cut into Luke, but Luke made a great point, and I just want to piggyback off that in a sense of, people talk about this football stuff being boring. And again, it's the language, because we talk a lot about Arsenal's ability to break down low blocks. What is a low block? What is a mid block? We're begging you lot to come out and play against us. If so it's not really making sense. Unfortunately, everyone in life deserves a fair trial, innit? It's like going to court and the jury is already prejudiced against Arsenal. They've already got their preconceived notions. So it kind of is what it is. So Winners win, losers explain. Who cares about their validation? It's not going to say on the Premier League trophy, oh, Arsenal scored X amount of set pieces. As Luke eloquently said as well, you know, with the goals scored in games, people aren't going to be kind. They're going to be disingenuous. They're going to, you know, there's not going to be balance, because it's not just Arsenal. Remove Arsenal for a second. I know this is an Arsenal show, but remove Arsenal and go and show me where the entertaining football is. Go and tell me what team isn't trying to be solid from set pieces. Because if you go and look at the Chelsea game, I know we had chances from open play and they did, but the major talking points are about a right back crossing the ball, and actually all goals, including the own goal, were scored by defenders. This is the game, and half of these managers, Slot's done it, Arteta's actually done it, Moyes has done it, Carrick has done it. They're moaning about dead balls and set plays, but their teams are actively improving at it. You'd be a fool not to try and take advantage.
Do you know what's funny,
kind
CJ?
of small margins in the game.
Brentford's manager is literally a set-piece coach who has been
Big him up for
promoted
that.
into
Them
a
and
gaffer.
Liverpool actually set the way for this in what would have happened. They were doing this thing years ago.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, Liverpool brought in a throwing coach under Klopp, and when a manager, Klopp's sort of legacy, like he's a very well-regarded manager in the Prem, and if he's looking at bringing in a throwing coach, because Jurgen Klopp's loved and he was a bit of a media darling, it's sort of like, oh, that's very, you know, intuitive by Klopp to bring in a throwing coach. But when Arteta does it, he's crazy and he's doing too much. And I do just think there is a bit of a hate against Arsenal. There is this sort of this urge to criticise us even when we do well. And to be honest, I'm so glad that we're finally going to get the fruits of our labour, because for so long, and we were saying it a few weeks ago after that Wolves draw, that, you know, it just feels deflating, because we know what this team's capable of. We know what the players can do. But you have to go and do it, and once you do it, that's when you probably do get the validation. So I'm just so happy. This is why I mentioned Declan Rice, because last night, the way he was just putting fires out on the pitch, the ball would just break, and then Declan Rice would just come out of nowhere. He was driving us up the pitch, dropping the ball off. I thought it was a very professional performance. But just want to mention City, because obviously, boys, we're in a title race with City. Pep Guardiola City, they're notorious for being quite ruthless in the running, where they just win. Certain decisions start going their way. You're looking at the league like, why are they getting these decisions? Why was Rodri charged in February? We're now in March and he still hasn't got a ban. CJ, I see that smile. I know you want to go mad, but, you know, allegedly there's something going on there. I don't know what it is. But with Man City dropping points to Forest at home, not away, at home, for me, once it highlights the quality of the league, when Elliot Anderson steps up, slots it bottom corner, just shows you the quality and different.
Well, man, what a finish!
Gibbs White, what a performance
finish.
First time touch, very good counter-attacking goal. Very good goal. But this is what I mean, the quality of the league. You can go to City away when you're in a relegation battle, nick a point. Not even nick a point, they deserve the point, to be fair. But you boys said it, City aren't the same Sharks that they've always been. It's not the same City. Erling Haaland was in the starting lineup yesterday, didn't score. I actually said in December, I feel like when Haaland doesn't score, it seems like City don't always win. When he scores, it feels like they just win, and it's a bit of just a matter of how many is Haaland going to get. But they drop points. The gap is 7 points. Luke, you highlighted the Everton game. If we beat them, we play before City, could be a 10-point lead. Obviously, they got a game in hand. I mean, Is this City starting to crumble, Luke? Is this showing that this isn't the same Pep Guardiola side that just smash through team after team, win after win? You don't even check the score. You just know City have won. Are they vulnerable now?
Well, look, I think that's a question for a City fan. But what I can say...
See, Luke kills me because he's
you're not trying to look... Mikel, man. I rate that.
Well, that is. I mean,
Luke
look, I watched them on Saturday in the second half. Look, the first half Leeds did well, and I think Leeds had too much energy. Yeah. But in the second half, I saw City, and I thought they were mightily impressive the way they shut them out in the second half. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this is why football is the beautiful sport. It's a brutal sport as well, because I had a little bit of a hope that Leeds could get us something. I didn't even bother thinking about yesterday. I was more concerned about us getting the 3 points, and then that's what happens. And I thought Forest were actually very, very good in the second half. I don't think it's for City to I don't know if they've always been vulnerable this season. However, the narrative has been that City are going to come and catch us. The narrative has been City will go on these runs. The narrative is they've got mentality monsters that have done it before. I've heard everything. But City are still on an exceptional side. And I truly believe that they'll still think the title race is well and truly on. Now, I don't want to look at City too much. because we need to focus on our own job. And while it's still in our hands, I don't want to be in a position where I have to look at City and rely on City.
Okay, Luke, let me change this then. Let me just change
right.
the sort of lead up to it then. Okay, we do play City away.
Yep,
Has
and
this given you encouragement for our game against City in a month's time?
There is no encouragement. I always said that we have to go there and win at the Etihad. That doesn't change if they won all their games. It doesn't change if they draw all their games.
I share that sentiment.
Listen, you know, go and seize it, embrace it. I've always said this, you know, and I look at this now, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity. And we talk about the ramifications in other competitions. I really hope they beat Real Madrid. I really hope they play Bayern Munich 3 days before they play us. And I hope they do drop points. But I'm not looking at it and expecting and anticipating. My focus is on what we can do and how we can control our noise and how we can pull clear. And right now, the perfect thing about last night is that we can breathe. I'm not saying we can drop points, but we can breathe, and we can actually eradicate that Wolves performance and result from our minds. Because if we beat Wolves, it would have been 7 points, and now it's 7 points with the game in hand. So it is as you were, and it's actually 3 games on. So that's nice. That's really, really nice. However, yeah, I'm not getting too ahead of myself in terms of thinking about City. I don't really want to think about City, but hopefully the players will look at yesterday from the City point of view. I don't know if it's true, but there's this thing on social media that Arteta's whispered into Saka.
Yeah.
Saka's face is a little bit surprised. Whether he's told him that happened and you hear the fans behind cheering. Listen, I hope that gives them the lesson. Not that they need the lesson, but just a sharp little reminder that no game is won on paper. So do your job, be respectful, be professional, and go out and win games. And then you'll see. You might just see a difference. You might just see the embracing pressure. You might just hear that they've dropped points again, because I do think City will drop points again. I do.
Us as well.
I've always been very, very consistent in the fact that I don't think Arsenal will lose a game. And I think they'll win all their games and draw one.
Look, you're making CJ nervous, Luke. What are you doing?
No, do you know
man?
what? Because as he said that,
Oh,
to be
hold
fair,
on.
Luke
Hold
said
on,
that on Monday. I'm just
we don't
looking
lose
at the
football
fixture calendar list in front of me, and I'm like, you know what? We're gonna have to go and do it. But
listen,
it really is the most exciting part of the season, isn't it? As the gaffer said.
Well, what I will say is we've very, very lucky. City have, a really rough draw away in Newcastle, which will be a rejuvenated one because of what happened last night in the FA Cup. Obviously, we play Mansfield, and you don't want a cup shock. You don't want that to happen. But then you go to Leverkusen, then you play Everton, Leverkusen again, and you've got a cup final. Sounds a lot nicer than Real Madrid and then West Ham away than Newcastle.
And then Bono, Glint or Sporting following that. You mentioned Bayern Munich for City.
Way too far. Thank you very much.
No, Luke, no, you can't tell me it's way too far when you said we're not going to lose another game this season.
No, but
forgive
that's
me, right? Forgive me.
But we haven't even got through Leverkusen. Let's not talk about Bodo and Sport. Let's talk about things that are actually going to happen.
But you're confident we are getting past Leverkusen, aren't you? You are confident.
Yeah. I'm confident. Yeah, absolutely. I've just said we're going to go to the Etihad. So if I'm not confident about going to the Etihad, I wouldn't be confident about Leverkusen.
This is what I'm saying. But this is what I'm saying, Luke.
But this is the thing. But it's confidence and trust, but they have to go and deliver it. We can say these on these podcasts and when we chat and when we represent the football club, we can do all of that, but it's up to them. And we support them, we love them, and I firmly believe they will beat Leverkusen. I firmly believe we'll be in the next round of the FA Cup. I firmly believe we'll beat Everton, and I firmly believe that we will win the cup final against Manchester City, because I've said that as well. And then we click our fingers, and then we're in April. And then April right now is still, in football terms, not that long away, but it's a whole month away. So let's have that conversation in April where we are, because things might be different. You have to factor in different things. City might have dropped points. We might have dropped a point. We might have a couple of injuries to deal with. They might have a couple of injuries to deal with. But right now, it's a very nice time to be an Arsenal fan. And I keep going back to it. As Madueke said, it should be the most exciting time to be an Arsenal player, and it should be a most exciting time to be a fan. So everyone that's going to work today, on Thursday, have a lovely day at work. Have a little smile.
And terrorise your colleagues, man.
Well, keep your head down. Just say hello. Don't get too, because you're not allowed to do that because we haven't won anything yet. Just say hello. How's your morning? And just enjoy it.
And put your arms on the table, man.
I know it's difficult because it's, and people always say this and they forget. And I keep saying it's not. This is obviously it's Arteta's Arsenal, But the pain and desperation has not been from Arteta. It's been from the last 2 decades of having teams that have been in title races and come close and seeing the beautiful football and hearing how they were naive and had a soft underbelly and they need to be stronger. It goes back to 5 years ago that Arsenal are not going to get anywhere until they become stronger on the pitch.
No one cared when Ramsdale used to get thrown into his goal every week from set pieces.
No, but people like to see Arsenal get bullied because that's what they became accustomed to. Beautiful football when push comes to shove.
Do you remember the 2022-23 season, the 0-0 with Newcastle, when the ball was out of play for a record at the time, and the sentiment around that? That's what annoys me. It's everybody does it. The game's the game. You can be frustrated, but the most dangerous thing is the language and how you twang it and how you talk about things. And it feels like one rule for Arsenal, 20 for others. Like even the manager for Brighton saying Arsenal are creating their own rules. Are we creating our own rules, or are we finessing the rules? Like what you've seen City do. I've seen Conte do it. I've seen Jose do it. You know, how much lessons do you think in that regards Arteta's learned from off his own playing experiences, but also off of David Moyes, one of the most experienced street smart gaffers going about? Don't hate us because we're doing it better than you.
Facts. No, it's facts. You know what, Luke? You've mentioned the next 5 games or so, and I've got the fixture list there. They're the next 5 games before the international break. Then there's a long old time before the next game. I'm not sure if we get through in the Champions League. Luke's going to tell me off for looking that far ahead. But if we get through to the quarters, I'm not sure if that game would come before the Bournemouth match or an FA Cup game in there before, because that FA Cup seems a long time. I thought so. But how important are those next 5 games? 2 legs in the Champions League, last 16, FA Cup, Carabao Cup final. I personally think that could be the springboard for us to just go and have because we've actually got a chance to have an amazing season here. Like, it's actually, like CJ just said it there, really is the most... Nah, because Luke, do you know, it is when you're under the stress and pressure. Like last night, I was stressed, bro. I'll be honest. I was stressed watching the game, not because I don't trust the players, just because you care so much, you want it so much, and it's not in your hands. You can't control it. It's like playing Football Manager when your team's not doing what you want them to do. You're just sitting there like, why aren't they doing it? CJ, I know you can relate to that. So it's just a bit.
I can't lie, that's a real bar, man.
It's just tough to watch because you're in control. But I honestly,
I'd be more concerned if any Arsenal. No, I can't tell a fan how to feel. But there's no Arsenal fan that sat there last night and was like chilling.
That's my point, Luke.
You're a liar if you say you was.
Yeah. You want it so much, you care so much.
If you weren't nervous, you didn't care. But what I'm more trying to say, Luke, is
I hear what you're saying.
We're on the verge of, we could do something special. And I know you're saying don't get too ahead of yourself, but looking at the Premier League games, I'm sort of hearing what you're saying, Luke, in that outside of the City game, I genuinely expect us to win almost every game we got left in the league. And if not win, not to lose. And then you look at the FA Cup, the Champions League, it has been a nice run handed to us. If you were picking the draw before last Friday's draw, that is what you would have picked. You would have. Yeah. So,
but let's just demand the merit from winning 8 from 8 in that. By the way, you create your own luck.
Facts.
I mean, don't forget.
Yeah, there's no conspiracy. Oh my God, Arsenal is fixed for Arsenal, and even that the Champions League. Sorry, it fixed for us. Have you seen?
I was one of those fans that don't forget that Inter Milan game was 4 days before Man United. And obviously off the back of the Liverpool and Forest results, a lot of Arsenal fans were saying, listen, I rotate that team a little bit.
You're right.
We part the Champions League and everything like that. And you never know. Obviously, if we would have dropped that points, we'd been second, and we might have been second next on the draw. We would have been on the other side. So things like that with Arteta, you have to win every game. And, I was like, that Inter Milan result. And
it's paid off.
The Inter Milan result, going with the team and going with the intensity to win the game and play like we did, has paid off. So you earn your luck. And we still have to play the games. But yeah, the Champions League is I celebrated the draw. It's nice, but again, we have to play those games.
You have to do your job.
It looks like it's just weird because I get what your point is. There is so much football to be played, but the season is nearly at an end because March is such a weird month in terms of its FA Cup, its Champions League, it's one more Premier League game and a cup final. Click your fingers, international break, and then you're not even in April. You're in April the 11th. You're coming up to mid-April, and then it's mid-May the season finishes. So I understand it, how it can just go. That's why, for me, I don't know, I woke up yesterday morning and I was just like, oh my God, this game is is massive. Like it was bigger than what I actually thought it was before. Do you know what I mean? Because I just looked at the psychological things of being in March and then being in April, then moving from a competition to another competition. Yeah, it's big. But yeah, look, I don't think they'll lose a game. I might be wrong. But if they do lose a game, then we have to swallow it and go. We've only lost, like I said, we lost 3 games all this season. I don't think it's the most outrageous thing to say that I don't think Arsenal will lose a game. And if they want,
frustrating, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? If we lose a game or if we draw a game, then we have to respond. It's as simple as that. And you never know. Look, you might draw the second leg or the first leg at Leverkusen, and it might not mean much.
You can't win them all, man.
You can't win them all. You never know. That might be. And it looks like on paper, then you've drawn a game, and then you go and win a few more. And yeah, but I'm delighted with them. Hope we see a lot of rotation for Mansfield.
Well, Luke, I was going to ask, what would you boys do for Mansfield? I personally, Zubimendi rest, Declan Rice rest, Gabriel rest. I wouldn't go too strong. You do want to see some names. I'd like to see Kai Havertz start. I'm not sure what's happening with Ben White, Martin Odegaard, Calafiori
on the field.
Yeah, Jesus can get a game. Maybe
Calafiori. Martinelli, they get minutes. Noni comes into the fore. Max Dowman and Marley Salmon. There should be minutes there. You know, do you know what? Even with that, it's a weird one because we've got injuries in it and players got niggles. So, like on one hand, we have to obviously. I'm with you, rotate against Mansfield, but you do have to have X amount on the bench. Some players will have to probably play some minutes. You know, you're hoping for good news, not necessarily to play against Mansfield, but definitely where Saliba, White, Odegaard are concerned that we need all our players back. Quickly, just about the Premier League, do you know what's weird for me? I feel a lot more comfortable away from home. I feel there's a lot more, the Premier League, there's a lot more anxiety at the Emirates, and I'm looking at it. For me, that's probably why I'm a bit nervous about Everton, about Bournemouth, about Newcastle, about Fulham. Don't get twisted. I don't want to say I expect to win, but I'm confident that we can go and do our job. But that's something that flew over my head about Brighton yesterday, and that I just think because of the away fans, because of how the dynamics are away from home, it's not that we're a lot more professional. I know we've dropped points recently away from home. I just feel a lot more comfortable now that I could kind of calm down. But
I think that's understandable, CJ, though. Recent seasons in title races, I think that's reasonable. Like in recent seasons, we dropped points at home to Villa, to West Ham. So we have even
some of it's illogical, but some of it is valid. Like some of it is what Luke said. There's 2 decades of obviously we haven't won. That's why I think it's vital beyond the obvious why we need to win the Premier League this season. We need to get that itch off our back. I say that because if we were to assume like next season plays out in this way and that we're all sat here talking about the Premier League, about City this and about City that, it's not to say that there won't be nerves and there won't be kind of talking points, but you've kind of crossed that path in it. You can kind of calm down a bit. It's not as anxious. Oh my God, what's going on? Where you're overanalyzing. That's why I think beyond the obvious, it's vital we get this Premier League, which is why us three always have that debate. Me and Luke had it on Monday on my platform where I asked him, do you want the Premier or the Champs? And then he flipped the question back at me and I said, and Luke can quote me, I said, for myself, I would pick the Champions League over the Premier League. But for the boys, I think you need the Premier League because of what's happened. And obviously, neither Luke, nor you, Roms, nor myself, we want to have those conversations if it goes negatively, innit? So it's the most enjoyable part of the season. It's the business end. Just got to get things done, man. There's going to be spanners in the works. Until it's mathematically impossible for anyone but us to win this title, we just have to keep going, which I think the boys are doing. Because have you noticed, they criticise us about everything. They can never say we lack desire, we lack focus, we don't understand the job at hand. Obviously, mistakes happen. And I do think that's something that's lost in football. Football is a human. Mistakes happen. Spanners in the works happen. Raya made a mistake. I've seen some of Raya's best games in the Arsenal shirt have actually been when he's made mistakes, you know. He's made a mistake that went unpunished yesterday. Okay, it happens. He riz up too. Magalhaes has obviously made mistakes as well along the road. He riz up too. And I love my defence, innit? My defence wins titles. We're scoring enough goals to win games, but our attackers need to go and do things. We all know where the improvements need to be made. But at this point in the season, it is what it is. Just don't buckle now, innit?
And you talked about that. And Rice, yesterday, there was a moment
Rice
where he lost
as
the
well,
ball.
big him up.
But when he lost the ball, and then he
nicked
won
it
it back with a crunching challenge.
We've got a horse in the field.
That typifies your winning. That typifies playing as a team. And that's the team, that's the core. And I spoke to you about this on Monday quickly, about the atmosphere at the Emirates.
They're overplaying it a bit.
I'm on the fence, and I said this to you because English football fans, it's different to European. We're never going to be jumping up and down if you're 2-0 down. It just doesn't work. We
did
live
say
it
that.
and we go through the game as we see it, and that's how we come across. But I was at the Chelsea game, and I was nervy. I thought I've said it before. I've said it during the week. I thought in the first 15 minutes, I thought Chelsea played the better football. But at the hour mark, where Chelsea was still, the crowd was still going, "Come on, Arsenal!" And we were with them. And then I think it was Timber saying, "Everyone calm down." So it's that relationship that they're actually like, "Yeah, we know, but we're in control." And then obviously, look, Chelsea do the stupid, indiscipline. Well, we've not said that about Arsenal before. And look, they got sent off. But we've learned we're more mature. Arsenal haven't picked up a red card this season. No one's talking about that.
Very
mature,
true.
discipline, not going back to the referee because of what happened last season. So little things like that. You're learning little things along the way. But I just think the crowd plays with them. You just play with them. So when they're expressing themselves, we're there. When we're nervous, we're going to sing and we're going to try and suck them in. Even in those last 15 minutes,
Facts.
nervous, but I was there. We were screaming, going, "Come on, like take it out!" Like, and everyone was cheering when Gabrielle was pulling it long. And
Even yesterday, the lady in the crowd when she's going like this,
Yeah,
she's
that I
the
love.
meme, but big her up, man.
Brilliant.
Rate
Yeah.
that. That's what we need.
But so this
That's
notion
class.
that it's nervy it's true, but it isn't like we're not afraid. It's like we're with them. We're feeling it with them. We're together, and we've got
Yeah.
So
5
what's wrong with
matches.
having nerves, bro?
And that's
the man are
because that's
human.
yeah, and that's what you want, right?
what
But I
you
don't want people to
channel
make
it
this,
with.
and I don't want people to make this conversation like, oh, going to the Emirates, they don't like playing at home because it's nervy. No, it's home. It's where we put the lights on. That's our comfort blanket.
How many
We've got
They
big
need
teams
to
have
embrace
been up
it.
in the last 2-3 years at the Emirates as well for all
we've
the
got
lack of
5
trophies.
games
We're not
left, I
scared
think,
to-
at home, right? I think we've got 5 games left. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's Palace away, City away,
and West Ham.
West Ham away. And yeah, if you
Bring
told
it
me
on,
we'd
man.
have 5 away games and 5 home games, I'd be picking 5 home games.
Of
'Cause
course.
as Pep says, and as Arteta says, you play with your people. You feel
Yeah.
it. You play with your people.
And
we'll
Arteta's
be
made a
there
big.
singing.
That's one thing Arteta's made a big song and dance about. Literally since the moment he signed for this, he became our manager. And I know people laughed when he said, "Bring your shin pads" and all of that, but it plays a part definitely for Arsenal Football Club. Where let's be honest, we're not the noisiest of fans. We are a bit moody at times. We're not. It's not like Newcastle away sort of thing. So. That is why we need all our fans. And don't get twisted. Sometimes the fans have to lift the players have to lift the fans. Sometimes we're all kind of nervy. As Lucas said, like, we're not like European fans or fans all over the world where it don't matter where you are, you're singing, you're dancing, beers are flying, shirts
It's English
are off.
culture.
We're moody English fans, isn't it? That's typically what everybody's like. Is what it is.
No, I'm confident of them home games, and I think you two have said it there. To be honest,
Yeah,
it's
done, man.
emotional. It's an emotional game. It's why we love it. It's why we live it. We breathe it. It's why we're up early doing this, recording this. I know you two are gonna go and talk even more about this game. I'm gonna do the same, but I'm actually on the way to the golf course. I'm doing a shoot with Jamie O'Hara, Jermaine Pennant, and I can't wait. I've never wanted to see Jamie O'Hara more. Is there anything you boys want me to say to him? Any messages?
All right, man. Just say he's welcome to the parade, man. He once got released by Arsenal. And also Jermaine Pennant. I was on the inside show with him, Harry, and Abby. I did say if we have a parade, I need you lot on a panel again. So just simple reminders. Pennant, you're allowed to roll as well, man.
You're welcome, Pennant. You're welcome.
You're welcome. And you are O'Hara, man. Bring Harry Kane as well.
Bring Harry. Bring him.
I saw O'Hara yesterday in the office. Safe to say, I think my reaction gave it away. And I think his reaction gave it away when the Murillo cleared it off the line and the full-time whistle went and I ran past him and I gave it, let's just say I ran up and
Big
down.
up Nottingham Forest, man. They gave us the red and white kits and they've given us a bit of a gift indirectly. And even that, I know we got to kind of go, but obviously the Nottingham Forest game was kind of focusing on Man City and winning the league. That's first world problems. Everyone likes to forget Forest are
So
fighting
true.
for their lives, like a couple of teams really. And I think Luke said it. I think this ain't the same City side. We know it's not. But I wouldn't say City have been lucky. But I do think Arsenal and City are very different, but they're very similar in that there's been kind of mistakes from us or areas of improvements that have gone unpunished for both teams. Where Arsenal in their situation, City in theirs. And City have won a lot of those games. I remember Crystal Palace away, I remember Brentford. You could obviously, they drew against us, but you could say them. But this is what makes it exciting, man. It's a level playing field. It's just go out there. Get it
We're
done now.
looking forward to the end of the season, boys. Thank you for joining me as ever. If you've been watching,
Pleasure.
listening, make sure to like, subscribe to the talkSPORT Arsenal channel. Myself, Luke, and CJ are across all the talkSPORT platforms, so you'll see us here, there, everywhere. But boys, thank you for joining me, as I said, and we'll see you next time, people.